Hey everybody, my name is Jordan Due and I'm making these Excel videos to show people how to better use Excel for both their personal and professional lives so that we can make better decisions based off of the information that we have. I've been using Excel personally for almost 10 years now, both as an employee and as an employer in my own businesses. And a lot of times I find that we have all the data that we need. It's just not laid out for us in a way to be able to make clear decisions based off of that data. So today we're going to be using Excel to do a real world analysis of coffee shop sales. We're going to do things like some basic formatting to get everything squared away and looking more professional. And we're going to do some basic calculations to better understand our coffee sales and how we can improve on that. So if you enjoy the video and you learn something from it, please like and subscribe for more. And now we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so the data that we're going to be using today is based off of coffee sales. We're just going to act like, we have a coffee store and we have some physical product that we have. Based off of this analysis, we're going to have a clearer picture of what coffees sell well in our store and which ones don't, and we may need to get rid of them. So first off, we're just looking at this and we can tell that a lot of this data is being cut off. Our column isn't wide enough, and we want to go ahead and expand it so that we can see all of this data in here. And one way that I like to do, it makes things a whole lot easier and just, less steps. I like to highlight the entire sheet. And there's really two ways that I know of to highlight the entire sheet. You can click off of this data somewhere and then press Control A, and that's going to highlight everything. Or you can come up here to this little sign here and click on that, and that highlights everything as well. And then we can double click on any of these. Once your cell turns into that little sign, you can double click on any of them and it'll expand out everything so that none of the information is being hidden by your columns. So, I guess we got to do it actually in the column that needs to be expanded, and then the rest of them will expand for you as well. So we have this expanded out to show all our data, and subsequently all of these expanded as well so that we can see everything. Okay, so now it's looking a little bit better, but we still have a few things to do. We want to, merge and center this JD Coffee Sales up here so that it looks just more professional. So how we can do that is we want to merge these cells so that this cell this information is effectively right in the middle of this data. So what we can do is we can drag and highlight all of these, and then make sure you're in the Home tab and come to Merge and Center. And that'll merge all of these cells up here and center the data that we had in this cell over here so that it's right in the middle of our data. But, we do have a little bit of a space right here. And what we can do is, right now it's aligned towards the bottom. What we need to do is middle align it. So that'll pop it up towards the middle. Okay, so looking a little bit better. Still a few things that we need to do though. Something to make this just look a whole lot more organized is we can put borders around all these cells. And this is just something I like to do. So what we can do is to highlight all of this table, we can press Control A, and that'll highlight everything for us here. But we don't want the JD Coffee Sales as part of it. So one way that we can deselect that, you can either press Control and then click on that portion and it'll deselect it for you. Another way to do that would be to, let's say that is selected, then it's showing as it's not selected, but it really is. See? So one way you can do that is then press Shift and then down, and it should deselect it for you. No, maybe not. Oh well. What we can do is, all right, we'll just do Control A and then Control and then click on that cell to get rid of it. Okay, so we have all of this selected. Now we want our borders around all of this just to make it a little more organized. And where you can find the borders is Home, and this little thing right here, it says All Borders. You can click on this drop down and it gives you a bunch of different border selections to pick from. You can always click here on More Borders, and this little pop-up will show here to where you can change the line style, you can change the thickness, things like that. You can change the color. But what we're going to do is we're going to do everything. So we're going to do the outside and the inside. So that'll put borders around all of our data in these. Okay. So now that that's nice and bordered off, let's go ahead and we can give this some type of background so that it's not just white like the rest of it. And where we can find backgrounds is home and this little fill color. So we can go ahead and find a decent fill here. That looks good enough. Okay, so now it's looking pretty good. I'm okay with this right now. But we've got some blank areas here. We've got blank areas where Community Coffee should be, Black Rifle Coffee should be, and Melaleuca. So what I like to do for these is you can just come here and drag that down. See how that little plus sign? Say you click your cell, and then that little plus sign shows up there on the bottom whenever you hover over the little square. You can click there, drag it down. Community Coffee shows in all of these. Another way you could do it is by copy and pasting. So just like you would copy and paste in anything else using your keyboard shortcuts, you press Control C, and then you come down here, Control V, and that'll paste it into the cell. Another quick way to do that would just be to, similar to how we clicked here and dragged down and pulled down information down so that it copied. We could just come here, get back to this little spot here, and instead of dragging and pulling this down, we could just double click it. Double click it, and it'll auto-populate for us. Again, same thing with Melaleuca, double click it, and it auto-populates for us. So now we have all of these cells have been filled out, got all their information in it so that we can clearly see everything. Okay, so we've gone over copying and pasting, the merge cells, some basic formatting. And, feel free to play around with a lot of these too. There's a lot of different combinations, and there's no way that I can go over every single combination and every single keystroke and things like that to show you how Excel works. But we're going to go do some basics just to give you a little bit of basic information so that you can go off and play on your own. All right. So now we're going to calculate the revenue. And we're calculating the revenue for each one of these different coffees. So what we'll do is Excel recognizes that whenever you press the equal sign, it's thinking that you're going to do some type of calculation. Whether you're picking different cells, let's say we're just going to do the cost of that plus, and you can just type in the plus sign, plus the cost of that, and press enter, and then you've got 1886. And we can go and see if this is correct by clicking on these. We highlight both these cells, and then you can come right down here, and Excel kind of gives you some information here. So it tells you the sum. Sum is 1886. 1886, just like that. Okay, so that's an easy way to check different things too. But we want to delete that, and we're trying to get the revenue. So we want to multiply the price that we sold it for times the quantity that we sold. So we have the price multiplied by, and the multiplication sign is the little asterisk. So for using a regular keyboard, Shift 8 is that asterisk, or if you've got the little numbers pad, there should be the little asterisk in there as well. So we have G4. It's showing us cell G4, and we want it times cell F4. So we're going to multiply those two together. And we've got 251.1. Let's see what that actually is. See, it's cutting off one of our decimal places. And one way that we can see all of our decimals or get rid of some of our decimals are we're in our home tab still. And we've got these up here that can either add or subtract decimals for us. So that's increase decimals, decrease decimals. We want to increase them. And it's, all right, so Excel did the work for us and just took that 0 off. Sometimes Excel will drop off those zeros, so just be looking out for that, because sometimes that is the right information, just like we just saw. Okay, so we want to get, all right, so that's fine and dandy. We just got that. What we can do is we can come and equals that times the units sold again, and we've got 309. Let's see, decimal wise, zeros, all zeros. Okay, so we've got 309 here, and we still need all of these. And we're not just going to go through these and press equals price times units sold for all of them. It's a much easier way to do that. And what I like to do is I just like to double click on this little plus sign again, like we did, and we copied the brands down here. What we can do is we can double click here, and Excel auto fills this information in for us. There's a few different ways to do that. Like I said, I like to double click that. There's another way that I use sometimes, and you can just click and drag down all of these, and you can use Control D. And Control D, I'm assuming it's down, but it'll put in all of these calculations for you as well, up to the last point, the last data point. So we can click here and still see that G17 times F17, G17, F17. So it's showing us that the formulas have been copied down, and they're applying, to the right cells that we want to multiply. So we have all of our revenue here. Cost of goods sold. This is going to be very similar to what we just did. So we can do equals cost times the units sold. And so we spent $116. Let's see, let's get some more. We spent $116.25 buying this community coffee house blend. Okay, so again, we want all this to pre-fill here. What we can do is we can just double click. You get the little plus sign, double click, gives you all that information for you. And now the profit. Okay, so we want to see how much we actually made from selling this coffee. So we can do equals the revenue minus the cost of goods sold. And I'm using my mouse a lot. It's a bad habit that I have, but you can just as easily use your arrow keys on your keyboard, and it'll bounce around for you so that you can select the correct cell. So we're doing revenue minus cost of goods sold is going to give us our profit of $134.85. Okay, so we still want the rest of these down here. Let's double click. All right, and now we've got our profit. Just give me a little bit more space to work with and kind of see our numbers a little bit better here. Still just a little bit. Okay. And now our net margins. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our profit divided by our revenue to give us our net margins. Again, I know if we have a store, then yeah, we are going to have some operational costs and things like that aren't going to fall under our cost of goods sold that we need to account for. But this is just a simple example. Okay, so our profit divided by our net margin, giving us 54% net margins. And let's double click here again. And there's all of our net margins for each of our different coffees that we're selling. All right, so let's take a look at this now that we have this and just see what kind of data. All right, so 54% margins, 28%, not terrible, 11%. And we're getting into the lower range here. 10%, oh, 1%. This is a rough one. Okay, from the signature blend, we only sold 6. Price that we sold it for was $16.42. The price that we bought it for was $16.32. So we spent $16.32 buying it, and we only sold it for $16.42, and we only sold 6. So yeah, it's not giving us great margins. Of course, look, we made 60 cents profit on this. Terrible. So we may need to look into seeing, do we still want to keep this coffee in our coffee store still, or do we want to get rid of it? And one other thing that we can do to easily show us, instead of going down and looking at each individual cell, we can highlight all these. And I'm using my mouse to do a lot of this, but we can easily just use our arrow keys. And one way to get to the bottom of this table, especially if we have a lot of data, you don't want to drag, you've got tons of different cells, that we can potentially occupy. And we want to be able to get to our data set, the ending of our data set pretty quickly. So what we can do is we can press Control, Shift, and then we're going to go down with it so that we can highlight all of those cells. And Excel stops us at the end of our data. So let's say there is a blank here, but let's put in just 55 here is just a general number. We can click here, do our control shift down, and it'll stop us. If we do control shift down again, it'll jump to that 55. There it goes. And if we do it again, it'll jump all the way down to our sheet, all the way down to this 1,048,000. Okay, so let's go back up, and we still want to highlight this. Let's get rid of this 55. We don't need that. And we're going to highlight just our net margins. And one way we can easily look at this would be to conditionally format it. So we can go to the Home tab still, conditional formatting, color scales. And color scales is going to show us, see how it's adjusting as I'm hovering over different cells. Color scales is going to adjust based off of the different options here. So there's a lot of different options. Maybe one might be good. So, look to see how the color scale is adjusting as you're hovering over these different things. But I know that I want this one. So now the color scale is easily showing us, the 1% here is just not good. 10% kind of okay. 11% okay. But see how here we have the 73 full on green, 74 full on green, 72 full green. So it's easily showing us what coffee based off of the net margin is doing the best in our coffee store. So that's one way you can easily look at different products. Like I said, it doesn't have to be coffee. It can be any type of thing. If you have some type of product that you're selling, or even a service that you're selling, you're looking to see how much margin that you're actually making off of some of these sales, depending on your cost of goods sold. And you can even add in your operational expenses as well to get a more accurate number for your decisions. So that's one thing that we can do. I like to use Excel to make better decisions, and sometimes it's hard to make good decisions if you don't have the data in front of you. This way, we've got all the data in front of us, we've got a good analysis on it, and we can go ahead and make an educated business decision based off of the data that we have from our customers. So this is just one example. Like I said, we're going to be doing some other examples, and hope y'all stick around. I think it's going to be a pretty good series. So thanks for watching. See you next time.